It had been several months since the last ape attack on John and Mary's village. The apes had seemed to learn their lesson after their defeat at the married martial artist's hands. But other villages in the area were not so lucky. In a nearby village, the people had been safe from ape attacks so far. But one day, the apes found them. As the apes swarmed the village, the people were torn apart. Limbs ripped from bodies, heads busted in, organs spilled on the ground as the people fought in vain. In the chaos, one man named Anatol managed to get out, but as he was leaving his home, an ape reached through the bars on his windows and tore off his nips. He managed to escape and made it through the forest, but by the time he reached John and Mary's village, he collapsed at the gate. The guards took him in and the medic treated his wounds, but upon awakening 2 days later, he told them of his village's fate. Realizing that there was no way for the others in his village to survive, he asked to stay here, which they agreed. But then he realized, as he came all this way with those open wounds, he must have left a trail of blood to this village. Anatol felt awful that this village was so kind to him, would fall because of him, but John told him that he and Mary were kung fu masters who beat the apes in the past. But Anatol told them that there were too many apes at his former home, even for them to beat. Mary said that they have a trump card, their friend Jerry, who was off in the woods training in his self-taught style of hammer kung fu, but John said that it would take too long to get to him and come back and prepare for the coming ape apocalypse, as they can't spare anyone. So Anatol volunteers go out and get Jerry as he feels he's recovered enough, and it's his fault the apes are coming. Jerry went off through the forest of what was once Florida and avoided gators, pythons, and was on the lookout for any apes he thought might be roaming around. Eventually, he heard a metallic clanking and followed it to a wood hut where a man with a suit of armor made of hammers attached to it was blacksmithing a new metal hammer. He asked if the man was Jerry, and the man replied yes. After telling him of the predicament, they left to return to the village. Despite wearing a suit covered in hammers, Jerry was strong enough to move with great speed, as he had gotten used to its weight. As John and Mary were out in front of the village gate and see the apes in the distance, Jerry comes in as Anatol watches from the wall of the city. John, Mary, and Jerry engage in epic combat against the ape horde, with Mary using a graceful counter style of deflecting the apes' blows against them, John using a hard style to break the apes with force, and Jerry beating them with hammers, as well as throwing hammers at them to take them out from a distance. When Jerry threw a hammer, he would grab another from his armor, which would lighten his load and allow him to fight faster. They fought with a combination moves, like with the ape swung at Mary, she would deflect its arm and throw it at John, who would punch a dent in its torso. Or when an ape went behind the couple, Jerry would throw a hammer into its skull. One ape raised both arms to crush Jerry, but he swung his hammers upward and snapped the ape's forearms so they flopped around, then swung both hammers into the ape's thighs to snap its remaining limbs and leave it flopping around while making devolved noises. Eventually, the apes were mostly slain, and the ones who were able to realize they couldn't beat the humans fled back to the village they had taken over to replenish their strength on human flesh. Mary wondered why the apes would choose to attack when they had been defeated before, and John theorized they were in a bloodlust from the massacre of the other village and were too frenzied to care.